this is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, and today I'm really excited to talk to you about Long Story Short, which is a new rom-com that's releasing in theaters and digitally on July 2nd, 2021. It was originally released in Australia, I believe, on February 11th, 2021, and maybe it got stuck in maybe it got stuck in a port, maybe it got stuck in the Suez Canal. Whatever happened, it took 4 months, and now it's finally here in America, and it is a very, very good movie. It is a fantastic rom-com. But it also has a lot more heart than I expect. I mean, rom-coms always have this kind of balance of humor and heart, but this movie, it has a lot of heart. It has a lot of great aspects to it that I'm going to talk to you about. And it has one thing maybe that I didn't like. Whatever. This film is fantastic. You should watch it. It's a great movie. But let's go into it. There will be some spoilers in the discussion, so if you don't want a spoiler, check out WatcherPass.com. That's where I post my written reviews. They are a little more vague and they have a little less details, so you can go read that spoiler free. But if you've already seen the film, or if you don't care about spoilers, or maybe go see the film and then come back, I'm going to talk about the movie. There will be some spoilers. I don't think there'll be that many, but you've been warned. So Long Story Short is a rom-com where Teddy and Leanne, Teddy's played by Rafe Spall and Leanne is played by Zahra Newman. They meet in a very cute way. It's actually a really wonderful initial scene that kind of made me think, okay, this is going to be a fun film because they've got some great chemistry. It's kind of a hilarious situation. And then they get married. And one of their wedding gifts is this object that makes Teddy jump forward a year every few minutes. So he'll wake up. It'll be a year later. He doesn't remember anything of what happened in between. Everything has changed around him, and he has like 4 or 5 minutes before he jumps again. And so he kind of, it's like a strange kind of Groundhog Day-esque thing because he's reliving the same day, except it's a year apart. But the world keeps changing around him, and there's really nothing he can do. So every time he has to find out what happened and what's going on, and it leads to these a lot of very funny situations where he's trying to remember what happened. All of a sudden, oh, now he has a kid. Now something else has happened. But it also leads to a lot of very heartfelt moments where he realizes things that he's done wrong. So, as you imagine, this is not the best experience for Teddy. And so, as he keeps going through, he's trying to figure out, how does he stop this? How does he, how does he go back to where he was before? How does he kind of break this curse? He calls it a curse. It kind of is a curse. And so, the film is a lot about him finding out about, what happens in his life, what are the things that he does wrong, and, how can he change that and start to repair the damage that he has unintentionally done. Like he doesn't know what happens. He just wakes up and all of a sudden there is, something horrible that he's done or something horrible is happening in his life. And so you get this kind of full life experience in a very compact form. And it's kind of perfect for a rom-com movie because you get to see everything about his life in, a 95-minute movie. It doesn't feel rushed, except where it has to be because the film is about him kind of jumping through time. And it feels like you get a really full picture of what happens. And I really loved that part about it. So before I get too much into the film, I'm going to talk about 3 things I really loved about this film. So the first is Rafe Spall. I mean, he is wonderful in this movie. He is fantastic. The film is kind of it's a tour de force of his acting ability because he kind of carries most of it. A lot of the scenes are, him by himself trying to figure out what's happening, or him kind of acting strange where the world is, around him has moved and he's trying to figure out what is going on. So he's talking to his friends who, think he's just kind of weird or, aren't sure what's going on. And so he has to do a lot of the, emotional part of it and a lot of the acting part of it and a lot of the comedic part of it by himself, essentially. He really carries this film because his performance it's humorous where he has to be. There's some monologues where he's talking to himself, or there's monologues where he's talking, or there's dialogue where he's talking to characters and they don't really know what's going on. So he's kind of making comments as he's talking. And it leads to just a lot of very, very funny scenes, very, very funny situations. But as you would expect in a movie that has this kind of, lived aspect to it, there's a lot of emotion that happens in 10 years. People's lives change drastically in 10 years. And so there's also a ton of emotional components to it. And Rafe does that also very well. He kind of builds this whole character and this whole world through his force of will. And he's not alone, but he is kind of the main driving force of this film. And so, that leads me to the second thing I liked about this, the rest of the cast. I mean, it's a small cast. It's definitely an indie film, but the cast is wonderful. And that starts with Rafe Spall, but then it goes to Zahra Newman, who plays Leanne. She's a perfect foil for him. She is, more grounded. She isn't as eccentric as Teddy is, but Teddy kind of is in a crazy situation, so of course he'd be eccentric. But she is a good counterpart to him through these jumps. And another good counterpart to him is his best friend Sam, played by Ronny Chieng, who is very, very funny. I mean, he comes in briefly, right? Because the film is mostly about Teddy, but he comes in, he is Teddy's lifeline to certain instances, and he also gives some funny, emotional support to Teddy. I mean, Ronny Chieng is a funny guy. He's a comedian, and it shows. Although he also gets to play a little bit more of a serious character at times. But together, they are a fun pair. Teddy's former girlfriend Becca comes in the picture a few times, and she's also quite funny. Like, she doesn't have a big role. It's mostly Teddy and Leanne, but she comes in and she gets to play, a little bit of comedic relief, also some more emotion. Like, this film has a nice balance of comedy and emotion that kind of goes throughout, because every time he jumps forward, something strange has happened. And then also there's this emotional component of him finding out what has happened and how to fix it. So the rest of the cast that complement Rafe are also fantastic, and I've touched on it throughout this review. But the third thing I loved is the comedy. Right, it's a rom-com. There should be humor, and this movie has a lot of humor. It's mixed in with the emotional aspects of it, but the film is very funny. Like, there are a ton of times when I was just laughing for the jokes or the situation or the things that have happened, or the things that they comment about in the future. There isn't a ton of future tech is showing off, but some of the trends that they comment on, they kind of make up toys and gadgets and things like that. The whole movie is a very, very funny experience from start to finish, and the comedy kind of glues that together, and it lets the next thing I loved about this film, which is the heart. The comedy is a nice way to kind of soften some of the emotional aspects of the film. So the fourth thing I liked is the heart. And sorry, four things I really like this movie, so I'm going to go with four. The film has a ton of heart. It's what you get with this type of a format, where you tell a few minutes every year. You get kind of like a Christmas story type of vibe, where you've got Teddy getting pushed forward into these time periods, and he just gets a little glimpse of what happens, and he doesn't know how to fix it, but he knows that something went wrong, or he knows that something is bad, and he's trying to fix it, but he's powerless to do it until the next step. And so you get essentially a full life's worth of emotion in a short period of time, because spoilers, Teddy and Leanne go through some marriage troubles. They have a kid. Teddy watches the kid grow up. He kind of has trouble with his job. He has trouble in life. He loses some people in his life, and it's all allowed because of the format that this movie has. And it kind of jumps forward a year, jumps forward a year, jumps forward a year. And even, despite that, it can be hectic, but there are a lot of scenes where the movie slows down and lets Teddy kind of appreciate, or ruminate on what's happening. There's some really beautiful scenes later on with his daughter that he gets to have. There's some scenes later on with Leanne that are fun. Like, the movie just has a ton of emotion built in because of this format, and then balancing that, you've got the comedy. So you have this really wonderful blend of comedic aspects and emotional aspects that really come together to form this wonderful cohesive story. So I really don't have that many complaints about this film. Like, I really, really loved it. It was a really, really nice surprise. I always come up with a couple things, so I guess here's a few things. One, there is an emotional scene later in the film that felt a little off. It felt, I kept expecting Teddy to like stop and go like jinx, or like gotcha, or something like that, or he feels like maybe he's trying to draw someone in. That doesn't happen. I think it's actually supposed to be an emotional scene. Maybe I was just expecting it to be a funny part. Whatever, don't worry about that. This film is fantastic. The other thing I didn't love is the credits song. Again, minor thing. I expected it to be a little bit more of like a emotional poppy song, and it kind of ended up being like a alt rock kind of song. It had some pop elements, but it just didn't feel like it fit with where the ending of the film was emotionally. It kind of was a little bit of a jarring transition. Again, who cares, right? It doesn't really matter because this movie is fantastic. You should definitely see it. It's coming out July 2nd, 2021 in theaters and digitally. So if you're comfortable going to theaters, it's coming out 4th of July weekend. If you want to get beat the heat and go see it in theaters, you're not going to be disappointed. If you're a rom-com fan, if you're a drama fan, a comedy fan, you'll love this movie. Or rent it and stay at home. Watch it at home in the comfort of your own home. Just in any event, just see this film. It is really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. So if you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And if you feel like it, leave a comment. Let me know what you liked about this review, what you didn't like about this review. If you could jump forward and see your life and come back and tell yourself some things to change, would you do that? Would that be a good experience, or would you just want to experience it the way if I could jump forward, I'd probably tell myself to start using some hair loss treatment, because it's happening. It happens with age, whatever. But that's those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.